So what to learn to unlearn today? Hi everyone and welcome on LaVhealthy. So I am delighted to introduce Dr. Nehme, a licensed psychotherapist from Lebanon with more than 8 years of experience. So Nehme is holding a master's degree in psychology and he specializes in interpersonal therapy and psychoorganic analysis. He offers client-centered, evidence-based support for individuals facing depression, trauma, anxiety, addiction, and emotional distress, while empowering clients to achieve lasting emotional growth, self-awareness, and improved well-being. So he speaks English and Arabic. Thank you again, Dr. Nehme. Could you tell me exactly what motivated you to become a mental health expert? More specifically, why did you choose to specialize in IPT and EFAPO? So what we mentioned before, the
EFAPO,
interpersonal
yeah.
therapy.
It's French school, EFAPO, École Française d'Analyse Psychoorganique. For the first part of the question, why I choose the path of psychotherapy, my journey into psychotherapy was not like a traditional one because I started that journey like 20 years ago, okay, in 2005 at that time. And Lebanon at that time was not like very connected to the concept of psychotherapy. It was like very familiar with it. And I was like very good in algebra, math, and in finance. So the journey that my family and my friends was expecting to me to do is more into business. However, I chose the path of psychotherapy because when I start at that time volunteering in social field and helping people in the social field, it gave me a kind of meaning, a deeper meaning, an insightful meaning in my life that I appreciate those people in their suffering, how they were strong, how they were connected to their humanity, to their life meaning in their life, and it touched me. That experience that I lived that time triggered me to start a new journey in my life. I could find at that time that my passion, my love, my courage should be in not in business, but in the humanitarian field. And then I chose psychology and psychotherapy. Second part of the question, I'm a person who believes during the studying phase, I believe in eclectic and holistic approach because I believe that a human being is one entity. It's not like divided between many entities. So I need to accept him as one unity, one entity. So the holistic school, the holistic approach was like triggering me to go into many schools of therapy. I already now certified in two schools of therapy, which is EFAPO, École Française d'Analyse Psychoorganique, which is psychodynamic school that focused on emotional regulation, emotional resilience, relationships, everything related to emotional distress to help people to overcome that distress. It focuses on childhood trauma, it focuses on addiction, everything related to emotional attachment, that part of emotional phase related to human beings. It focuses on many things more, but the emotional trigger in FAPO was like a little bit insightful to me. It like triggered me to go more and more to FAPO. And regarding IPT, it's interpersonal therapy. I went to interpersonal therapy for depression, IPTD, because there is interpersonal therapy for PTSD. I went more to depression. I can work with people suffering from PTSD because I am working through FAPO, so FAPO technique. As IPT, what I like in that evidence-based therapy can help every human being suffering from depression symptoms to be healed, to be happy again within only 16 sessions. So it's maximum 4 months. Okay. And I felt like a miracle first. I know it's not miracle, because therapy is not miracle, but it's like how to help people find their inner strength and do the little steps that can help them to be happier, to overcome depressive symptoms.
As you mentioned about depression, actually, this is something that many people face in a period of time, or sometimes it's stretched longer. And I was wondering, for someone silently struggling with depression, often also afraid of being labeled, how do you offer reassurance and support? How do you guide them through the techniques and practices that you have learned and put into practice?
You know, the first step of people who are suffering depression is to validate their suffering. The problem that many people they live with depression without validating and without having that courage to start a therapy journey, the healing journey. Once this person came to me, so he or she validates that he needs help, he needs support, or she needs support. So this is the first step. So this is the beginning of the healing. That I validate I need, and I went to the professional. Then within the sessions, first we can work on techniques and strategy. We need first to know the reason of the depression, the problematic areas that are correlated to the depressive feeling. Once we set the therapy goals in the first two, 3 sessions, in the first 2 sessions, I name it like 3 sessions in the IPT, because in those 2, 3 sessions or 1, 3 session, I will not start the therapy techniques and strategy. I just assess. During the assessment session or pre-session, we can set the therapy goals. Why that person is coming to me? What does she need, or what does he need? We can assess the problematic area and the reason that trigger the depressive symptoms, that causes the depressive symptoms. And then in the third session, which is the first therapy session, we start going into strategies and life techniques, life strategies, capacity building that can help to release the depressive symptoms and increase the social adjustment. And here, the person, once that person will start to increase the social adjustment and feel better and better by decreasing the depressive symptoms, he start to improve bit by bit. He start to feel like he could like get over the depression.
There are a lot of persons who are scared being stigmatized or take time to go over the denial period where it's hard to first accept and assess that someone is dealing with depression. And at the same time, many people still think that therapy is only for serious problem. How do you explain its value for everyday well-being?
Some people have misconception regarding therapy. Some people may think that therapy is only for mental health illnesses. So they correlated to psychiatric hospital, to psychiatry. But therapy is not only for mental health illnesses. Therapy is created to help each person is in his or her daily life, to support him in his or daily life challenges. Here we can talk about work stress, daily stress. We can talk about anxiety. We can talk about the overthinking. We can talk about feeling sometimes like upset and low self-esteem that I cannot do it, like a feeling of failure that I'm not a good person. That kind of feeling that may happen in our daily life regarding some daily situation or life situation that might change our emotional status. Therapy is created to help us to adjust, to create balance, to have a better well-being, to be more happy, to start to be more satisfied in life. This is the goal of therapy, to help us to be happy and to be satisfied in our life. So if I validate myself that I'm not a happy person, I'm not satisfied, I always feel like I'm anxious, I'm upset, I'm like sad, I don't know. So here is the time to go to therapy, to get professional support, okay? Just to be happier in my life, to be more satisfied in my life.
I tend to believe that this is crucial to always have this emotional checkup to know how to keep improving.
One thing to say is that one of my schools that now I'm studying it is logotherapy for Viktor Frankl. He said, yeah, the main focus of logotherapy is how to find a meaning in my life in order to be healed. how to find that meaning even in my suffering and my daily suffering, to find a meaning that can help me to heal. And if we talk a little bit about Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist. He was present during World War II in the Nazi prisoner camp, and he founded that therapy when he was in the camp to help himself to find meaning in that black life that he had in the camp, and to help his colleague prisoners to find meaning in their life. And then after the World War II finished, he like published his new theory, the Logotherapy. It's like his life is very insightful. It gives meaning. His life is giving meaning to our insightful life. How he could overcome the prison, the suffering. Within the suffering, he could find the light in the dark.
That's so interesting. I'll definitely look into it as well. What would you say to someone who feel ashamed or afraid to seek mental health support? If you have any impact story with some example.
I would say that every person has his strengths and his weaknesses. So it's okay as a human being to have weaknesses first. And to go to therapy is not a weakness, it's a strength and a courage. Because when you start going to therapy, you are going to the confrontation life. During therapy journey, you confront your suffering, you confront your painful things that don't help you to improve in your life. Because if you don't go to therapy, you will be living the avoidance. And once you are living the avoidance, that suffering will be distracting you bit by bit. So you will be living a self-destructive life bit by bit. Once you have that courage to go to the therapy, you'll start to improve your life because you start to confront, you start to go, not to avoid. I want to give a little example related to that, not for my experience, like metaphor example. If you have a suffering, pain, very painful suffering in your stomach, you need to go to a medical doctor that he is focusing, he is specifying in stomach. You don't go, that painful suffering might be medically than infections, might be going into something more severe, and might be like causing death sometimes. And that example can be correlated also to mental health suffering. If you are mentally suffering, I'm not talking about schizophrenia and personality disorder. I'm talking about like daily mentally suffering, like depression suffering, anxiety suffering, stressful work, burnout, psychosomatic symptoms, when the stress in our life start to cause us medical symptoms such as panic attacks, such as paralysis, such as sometimes brain clot. So if you don't go and confront in order to treat that painful suffering, the suffering will distract you and will kill you one day, will kill you mentally. So your life will be a sad life all your time. Why? Just go work on yourself and then have a more satisfied life.
We should all be our best ally and best support. I myself like to be surrounded and have those checkup regardless how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling low or good, I believe it's really important to always have also an objective point of view. So thanks for reiterating this important step.
I try to help my cases to be more satisfied, to search happiness, to search fulfillment in their life, to have a fulfilled life, to improve their self-esteem, to improve their belief in themselves and their skills, to like themselves, to love themselves as they are.
Thank you so much again, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.